The NCERT panel has reignited the debate around the naming of our country. Should it be called India or Bharat? According to the NCERT panel, it should be Bharat. Its suggestion says that the name of our country should be Bharat in school textbooks. Our constitution says the name of our country is both India and Bharat because India, that is Bharat, has been reflected in the constitution. In order to amend the constitution, it will take a lot of time. But in order to raise awareness about the importance of a name Bharat, of the name Bharat, revolution from the schools must begin. And that is why this current suggestion has been made in lieu of that. Do not worry about making notes because I provide the notes through my Telegram channel, Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. And if you have any queries regarding this examination, you can talk to me on my Instagram. Follow me on my threads. Today's topic is very important from the perspective of GS mains paper first and second. So make sure you understand it till the very end. I have already told you about the suggestions and what is the NCERT as well as the panel. We are going to talk about that. NCERT is actually our country's apex advisory body on school education, and it is recently in the final phase of developing new textbooks because of the new education policy of 2020. New textbooks are being developed. A 19-member committee, an empowered committee, has been formulated which aims to align school syllabus, textbooks, teaching and learning materials. All should be in tandem with each other. In pursuance of the National Education Policy 2020, development of the National Curriculum Framework for School Education was initiated and a National Steering Committee has been formulated, which is an empowered committee to develop school syllabus, textbooks and teaching or learning materials from classes 3rd to class 12th, to appropriately even revise the existing books of class 1 and 2 to ensure smooth transitions from class 2 to 3. So basically, in order to align the national narrative in the schools, this is being done in pursuance of the new education policy 2020. The 19-member National Syllabus and Teaching Learning Material Committee is comprised of philanthropist Sudha Murthy ji, singer Shankar Mahadevan, field medalist Manjul Bhargav, founding member of the RSS affiliated Samskrita Bharati Chamu Krishna Shastri, chairman of the Economic Advisory Council to the PM Sanjeev Sanyal, mathematician Sujata Ramadorai, among others. Other people are also there. It is mandated to prepare textbooks and other teaching learning materials, and it will be accompanied by curricular area groups in order to understand how curriculum works. Now, let's talk about the debate around India and Bharat. It is not for the first time that our country is undergoing this process of debating about the name. Even in the constituent assemblies, there was a division, and it came out very openly during the debates. Constitution Assembly debates the section Name and Territory of Union on September 17, 1949. As soon as there was a reading of India, that is Bharat shall be a union of state, the divisions occurred. From the very beginning, there was a division, a gap between the people, between the the people who comprise the Constituent Assembly about the name. See, Hari Vishnu Kamath, who was a member of the Forward Bloc, he said that the first article shall be replaced at Bharat or in the English language India. So Bharat was given precedence over India here, shall be and such. Then Seth Govind Das ji, who was representing Central Provinces and Berar region, he said it should be Bharat known as India also in foreign countries. So he ensured that India is not aloof from the current geopolitical recognition system. He was very sure that India is known as India in the outer world, but to ourselves we should be Bharat. Hargovind Pant, who was representing hill districts of the United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh, he said the people of North India wanted Bharat Varsha as the name of our country and nothing else. He went on saying that why should we be attached to a name that has been given us by the colonial masters? Why should we be so attached to it? We should have our own name, an endonym. Bharat is an endonym. That means it is a name given by our textbooks, the textbooks that originated in our country, and that is why it is an endonym. Any other name that has been given by others is called an exonym. Okay, and that that is why the name India is an exonym from that perspective. Moving on. But India did not have only these names, Bharat, Bharatvarsh, and of course India. One of the earliest names for our country was Meluha. And Meluha was seen in the texts of ancient Mesopotamia in the 3rd millennium BCE. Here is Mesopotamia and here is the Indus Valley civilization. In order to pinpoint the Indus Valley civilization, it was known as Meluha. But of course, with the course of time, the term Meluha, it lost its currency. And other names occurred such as Jambu Dvipa or the land of Jamuns. Then Nabhivarsa and Aryavarta and even Hindustan. Do you know, in the debates, there was in the Constituent Assembly debates, the debate only pertained to India and Bharat. Nobody really talked about, not a majority of people talked about, it being Hindustan for many reasons, which of course was more political in nature rather than cultural or religious. Moving on. The history of the names Bharat and India goes like, of course, in our text, we have been calling ourselves Bharat, Bharata or Bharatvarsha. In the Puranic literature and the Hindu epic Mahabharata, it has been mentioned. But more so in the modern times, through freedom slogans, freedom struggle slogans, we got our name, such as Bharat. So Bharat Mata Ki Jai. The current situation is, resounding this particular freedom slogan, freedom movement slogan that was against the colonial India. And the social scientist Catherine Clementine Ojha has said, she explains that Bharat actually refers to the supra-regional and subcontinental territory where the Brahminical system of society prevails. So she is trying to say here that Bharata is more of a religious structure and not which is political in nature, geopolitical in nature or territorial in nature. We know that our country, the modern nationalism is very different from erstwhile, nationalism. For people back then, before the modern nationalism, nationalism meant only loyalty to a clan or a village. But modern nationalism says that to the entire country, our loyalty must lie. So she says that this is basically a more supra-regional term, a religious term. The Puranas actually mentioned Bharat, and it says it is between the region of Bharat is between sea in the south and the abode of snow in the north. That means the Indian Ocean and the Himalayas. Its shape and dimensions varied. That means right now how we are seeing our country on maps, it was very different in different texts. Bharata was more of a religious and socio-cultural entity. How we interacted with the outer world, it was socio-cultural in nature rather than a political or geographical area. Bharata is also believed to be the mythical founder of the race. So till here, Ojha explains, Catherine Clementine Ojha explains what does Bharata mean. Moving on. Hindustan was basically the most important term when it comes to having political tones, specifically political undertones. So let's understand Hindustan as well. Persians, when they occupied the Indus Valley in the 7th century BCE. This name Hindu was actually the Persianized version of the Sanskrit Sindhu because they couldn't pronounce S. So whatever was S became H to them. See, Sindhu river became Hindu. So whoever lived beyond or specifically in the lower basin of the Sindhu, all were, according to Persians, they were Hindus, all, irrespective of their actual religion or whatever tenets they might follow that was separate from Sanatan Dharma. So this was the beginning of it. And as you know, Sindhu becomes Hindu. Similarly, Sapta becomes Hafta. Sapt Sindhu, Hafta Hindu. It's like that. So this is just a change in alphabet that gave us our current understanding of certain words. So Indus River, I have already told you, whoever lived specifically in the lower Indus basin, they all were Hindus. Okay. And the Persian suffix of stan, S-T-A-N, was applied in the form of name Hindustan. This was done during the 1st century of the Christian era. So people who did not belong to the current geographical region, this is what has been said, that they have been giving us our names. And that is why it is more nationalist in nature that we must call ourselves Bharat. And of course, it can differ from person to person. But in order to write a good UPSC answer, you have to understand all opinions. Okay. Greeks who had acquired the knowledge of Hind from Persians, they translated it to Indus. For us, for the people who were actually living near the Sindhu river, it was Sindhu only. But for Persians, it became Hindu, and then for Greeks, it became Indus. And Macedonian ruler Alexander invaded India in the 3rd century BC. By then, India had come to be identified with the region that is beyond the Indus River. Moving on. Then, let's talk about Hindustan. Hindustan became a more used term in about 16th century when Hindustan was used by most South Asians to describe their homeland. Supposedly, if we talk about late 18th century, 17th to 18th century, Hindustan was referred to the territories of the Mughal Empire. So, this was much more in congruence to the empires, the word Hindustan, and not to the whole geographical area. Late 18th century, it was the time when British maps started increasingly using India, and Hindustan also started to lose its association with South Asia. Why was the name India used? Because of its Greco-Roman associations. The word India has not been only used for our country, but for the indigenous population of different regions. Whoever the natives were there, for example, if we talk about the USA, they were also known as Indians. That means the indigenous population. But for India, it became very specific when colonial powers came into existence for India. Its long history of use in Europe, as I told you, India was not the name, as in Indians was not the name only for us, but for others as well, the native population. Its adoption by scientific and bureaucratic organizations such as Survey of India. So these kind of usage in different organizations, bureaucracy, the popularity of it in the European nations, that is why the name India started to be used. Now, why should we even consider naming ourselves Bharat? Some people may say that it is an endonym, that I've already told you what's an endonym. It is a name given to us by ourselves. But exonym, India is an exonym. Meluha is also an exonym. So other names which are actually exonyms have fallen out of favor. Instead, we are using Bharat. It is more nationalist in nature. It is synonymous to nationalism. Even when we talk about political parties, they have been using the name Bharat more so often to show campaigns. And it is not colonial in nature. That means it's showing in the name India is showing a colonial mindset. That is why many even cities have changed their names. Bombay has become Mumbai. Okay, because Bombay was used by the colonial masters. Calcutta became Kolkata, right? So that is why it is important to understand we have been shedding the fur of colonialism since a long period of time. And now this is being done on a pan-country basis. And it is more cultural and emotional. It is easier for the majority of the population the argument in favor of using Bharat is majority of the population has been feeling emotionally and culturally attached to this name Bharat other than India. More people say, most of the people might suggest that India has become elitist in nature. But India, the name India has a brand value. It is a name that India has made itself very famous all over the world. So it is important to strike a balance between the usage of both the names. All right. Moving on. If we talk about the examples of other countries that have changed their names, first is of course Turkey in 2022. The Turkish president said that we want to be called not by a name of any bird. Turkey is the name of a bird, and we should call it Turkey because it is more cultural, civilizational, and more valued for the people of the nation. Czech Republic named Czechia because it is easier for the nation to be recognized in international events such as sporting competition, and it is much cooler according to them. Then Netherlands also rebranded itself. Earlier it was known as Holland, but now it rebranded itself as Netherlands because it is more inclusive in nature. Macedonia named itself North Macedonia. When political disputes started to take place with Greece, it was used to distinguish the country from the Greek region of Macedonia. That is why it became North Macedonia. So I hope you understood today's topic well. You got so many things to write answers for, and I hope you will also like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.